Alright everybody, welcome to this live training on goals. You'll see that I have this lovely illustration of a football goal here, or soccer goal to my American audience. We are going to use the last little bit of daylight that we have left here in the Northern Hemisphere to cover an introduction to goal setting. So for those of you who were on the live video yesterday, where I was given a little outline and a preview of everything that we're going to be doing in All For Your Life in 2018, I meant to mention this to you, but for those of you who are on the live, you'll know that my battery started to run out really fast. It was really bizarre. I was on 10% and I was like, okay, battery's running low, but I know I'm getting near the end and there should be enough time to finish everything that I want to do. And then suddenly it was just like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I was like, oh my god, I'm on 1% battery and I haven't finished everything that I'm going to say, so I had to wrap it up. I wrapped up the last point that I was making, which was almost the last thing I wanted to say anyway. But the one thing that I also wanted to tell you about, for those of you who are on the live, was I wanted to mention that I was doing this live training today on the 2nd. So we're going to launch in. You guys aren't necessarily prepared or aware that this live is happening, but we're just going to go through, and for those of you who are surfing Facebook at this moment in time, hop along and learn a little bit about goals. So let's launch into this. I've got 3 concepts to share with you today, and they are the how, they are the why, the how, and the what of goal setting. Now, around about this time of year, in January, when everyone is hopping on the New Year's resolutions bandwagon, what you'll be hearing a lot of is this. What you should be doing, or what people want you to do. The gyms will be telling you 6-week boot camps. That is what they want you to do. Business blogs will be telling you to set SMART goals. That's what you should be doing. Motivational speakers will be telling you to believe in yourself and go out there and do it. If you believe in yourself and you work hard enough, you can do it. That actually jumps a little bit higher into how you do things. But largely what you will hear at this time of the year is what you should be doing. And this is what a lot of people focus on when they're doing their resolutions. They say to themselves, this is what I want to do this year. I want to lose weight. I want to find a new romantic partner. I want to start a business. That is the what. And people are really clear and precise on what they want. They want to lose weight. They want to have a new business. They want a thriving relationship. But the what is the lowest level. Barbara, I see you've just joined on live now. What is the lowest level? The what is the outcome. It's what produces the results. But the foundations of what are how you do something, and more importantly, and what almost nobody will talk to you about during this period, is your why. I think it will just be myself and Simon Sinek talking about why during this period. The power of why. Why are you doing something? What is your emotional connection to the goal? What is your deep underlying purpose? What is your spiritual connection to the goal, if you're that way inclined? Why? I'll tell you one thing. 95% of people give up their New Year's resolutions by the 14th of January, I think it is, 2 weeks into the new year. Those 95% give up on their New Year's resolutions because all that they focused on was the what. I'll guarantee it. You go and look at everyone, you survey them, you sample them, you find out what they were doing to move forward their goal, you'll find that they were only focusing on the what. Of the 5% who don't give up their New Year's resolutions, I bet that 95% of those 5% started with their why. They connected with the deep yearning, the fire, the drive, the pain, the suffering, whatever it is that makes them want to make a change. And that is where you'll be successful. If you want to be one of those 5% who don't give up on their New Year's resolutions, don't just not give up, but actually succeed and complete your New Year's resolution, then it all has to start with why. The other stuff is important. You've got to be knowing what you do, because ultimately what you do is going to produce the outcome you desire. But it all needs to come from this foundation of why are you doing it, how am I going to do it, and what do I need to do? And I have a concept related to each of these areas I'm going to share with you here today. So allow me just to clear the board. And we're going to start with concept number 1, which is Ikigai. Now, what is Ikigai? Ikigai looks something like this. How's that for a Venn diagram? Pretty hot. Ikigai is where these 4 circles meet. That is your Ikigai. Now that doesn't really give you a whole lot of information, does it? So let me give you the background into Ikigai. So Ikigai is a concept that was coined and discovered and brought into the wider consciousness through an unrelated piece of research. Studies have been conducted all over the world, looking at areas of the world, small populations and communities that have an abnormally high life expectancy. And you'll find these clusters all over the world. All over the world there's these little communities and populations and groups of people who live a lot longer than the other groups and communities around them. And what the researchers wanted to do is they wanted to dig deep into why some people in some areas of the world seem to live unusually long. And one such place in the world is an island off the coast of mainland Japan called Okinawa. Now here on Okinawa, the population have this unusually high life expectancy. They have about 3 times the number of centurions, that's people who live to 100, per head of population than mainland Japan. And Japan actually is one of the countries that has the highest life expectancy in the world. So Okinawa is even higher than mainland Japan. And this is odd. If you look at Okinawa, what makes it different from Japan? It's not all that different in climate, it's not all that different in nutrition. And the researchers looked at all these variables. They looked at climate, nutrition, access to medication, lifestyle habits. They looked at all the possible variables that they could think of that would explain why the people in Okinawa seem to live this unusually long time. And after inputting all the variables and all the numbers into their calculations, what they found was that this concept called Ikigai seemed to explain some of the reasons, some of the variants in why the people in Okinawa live long. And what Ikigai translates roughly as from Japanese is reason for being. The people of Okinawa live longer because they are connected to their Ikigai, their reason for being. You can call this life's purpose, you can call this spiritual mission, you can use whatever terms you like, but essentially this is all about your why. Why am I here? Why do I exist? Why have I been put on this earth? The people of Okinawa have a really clear idea and concept of what their Ikigai is. And Ikigai is made up of 4 components. 4 components on a Venn diagram. Your Ikigai comes from doing something you love, something you're good at, something the world needs, and yes, finally, something that you can be paid to do. If you have something in your life that ticks all 4 of these boxes, fulfills all 4 of these components, then you are living right in the middle, your ikigai, your reason for being. So what I encourage people to do, and I encourage you to do when you're looking at your New Year's resolutions, is if there's changes you want to make in your life, are these changes going to fit into your ikigai? If you look at your activities, your passions, your hobbies, your job, your career, do these fit into these components? What I'd encourage you to do is draw this diagram for yourself on a piece of paper and start to write in everything in your life that fits into these boxes. So what you love in life, what you're good at in life, from your perspective, what do you think the world needs? And what do you do in your life right now, or can do, that you can get paid for? And start to look at what crosses more than one boundary. What is something that you love and you're good at? What is something the world needs and you could get paid for? And start to hone in on what your ikigai can be. Now, just a reminder as we go through this live video, if you have any questions or queries or things come up during this live video, then pop in a question. I've got my plans material that I'm just going to roll through, but if anything comes up that you'd like further elaboration or clarification on, remember to stick a question in, and that is the purpose of live, after all, is to have this interaction. We actually had a really good interaction on yesterday's live video, and hopefully we can do the same again today. So, after that short commercial break, we're returning in to talking about ikigai. So what is your ikigai? What I find a lot of people that I talk to in the entrepreneurial space, me myself being an entrepreneur, I go to various networking events and conventions and seminars and all these things where other entrepreneurs come. And generally what you find with entrepreneurs is entrepreneurs are actually really close to their ikigai. Generally what an entrepreneur has is they have 3 out of 4. Lots of entrepreneurs have something that they love, something that they're good at. That thing that they love and that they're good at is something the world needs. And what they maybe struggle on is how they can get paid for it. I meet a lot of entrepreneurs along the journey who are in this place. They've got 3 out of 4. They just need to find out a way how to monetize their business, and that's why I so often find them at these sort of events. Networking to build connections, create leads, create clients. At seminars to learn more about marketing systems and copywriting and that kind of thing. So what about you? Do you have something that's starting to tick multiple boxes? Maybe it's just 2. Maybe you have something that you love and you're good at, but you're not too sure if the world needs it and how you can get paid for it. Let's take a really benign example such as knitting. So you might love knitting. You might be really good at knitting. You can make all these funky kind of animals and figures and humans. But you're not too sure if the world needs knitting. In the grand scheme of things, is knitting going to change the world? And you don't think you can really get paid for knitting. It's a nice hobby, it's a nice activity, but can you earn money for it? Well, you can start to research this a little more. Yes, maybe knitting isn't something that changes political systems or cures world poverty, but are there people in the world who could get value from your knitting, whose lives you could improve with your knitting? Let's think of an example, people in cancer wards, people who are in really poor health, they're low physically, emotionally, spiritually. Does the beauty of your craft, of your artwork, could the things that you knit go into that cancer ward and brighten up the surroundings, brighten up the patients of that cancer ward? Maybe. Maybe that might be something that those patients need. And can you get paid for it? Well, let me tell you, if you add value to people's lives, yes, you can get paid for it. Because I'm sure we all know there's people who get paid for not adding value to people's lives. So if you do add value to people's lives, yes, you can absolutely earn money from it. If you are able to improve the life prospects and life expectancy of people with cancer through knitting, if you went and got all the scientists, the psychologists, the medical professionals, and you went and did a study and inputted the variables, and you found that yes, your knitting figures improve a variety of health and well-being prospects in those cancer patients, would medical systems start paying you for that? Yes, absolutely. If you make other people's lives better, if you add value, the money will come to you. The wealth will come to you. And this is what the people of Okinawa understand. They understand that if you get all these 4 components right for yourself, and this is where you hit your ikigai, your reason for being. And this is why the people of Okinawa live longer. Because literally, if you understand your reason for being, then you have a reason to live longer. You are more connected with why you need to live, why you need to be alive, because you understand your place in the world. Now, one thing that I just want to stress before I round up Ikigai is that when we look at something like Ikigai, it can conjure the image of having to do something big and massive. Doing a Nelson Mandela Ikigai. Mickey guy? Ikigai. Who's this Mickey guy? I'm talking about Ikigai. Yes, it can conjure up these images of doing a Nelson Mandela, a Martin Luther King, an Elon Musk, a Steve Jobs, a Richard Branson, doing these big, huge things. Well, you know what? Some people's Ikigai in life is only to be a coffee barista. They love being a barista. They love all the idiosyncrasies of the beans and how you grind them, and knowing the history of the bean and knowing how to combine certain flavors together. They're good at it. They have a wide-ranging expertise and knowledge of different types of coffee, different ways of brewing and combining coffee flavors. It's something that the world needs. The workers of the world are starting their day with their caffeine hit. They're going to get their coffee, and that barista is providing the coffee for them. And yes, baristas get paid. If you're just getting that part-time job in Starbucks, then yeah, you don't get paid a whole lot. But I know more than a few people who've started their own coffee company. They're highly skilled baristas, and they take coffee making in a much more artisan and expert direction of being a real symbol of excellence in the art of coffee making. So for some people, their ikigai, their reason for being, is to make coffee for the world. They love it, they're good at it, the world needs caffeine, and they can get paid for it. So don't think that if you're not doing some big, grand mission or adventure that you're not fulfilling your ikigai. Because the people in Okinawa, they recognize that their ikigai is to be a fisherman, to feed their family. Their ikigai is to be a gardener, to keep the land around them clean. Their ikigai is to be a teacher, is to teach the young folks in their communities and families how to live a better life and how to find their ikigai. So all of these so-called trivial ikigais are some people's reason for being. We need the fishermen, we need the gardeners, we need the coffee baristas in the world. If that is your ikigai, don't be ashamed of it. Chase it, embrace it, love it. So that is the why. When you're looking at your goals this year, really dig deep into why. Why do you want something? Why is this important to you? Why is your life going to change? When we start with why, everything else starts falling into place. Your why is what drives and motivates you. Let's take the example of exercise. There's going to be plenty of people setting the New Year's resolution to lose weight or get fitter, get into better shape, do a marathon, do an Ironman. That's your what. I want to lose weight. I want to get fitter. Your why is going to get you up at 6 in the morning to go for that run before work. Your why is going to allow you to walk past McDonald's even when you're starving hungry. Your why is going to help you sit in a group of friends, and whilst they're all drinking alcohol, you're drinking water. These are the things that are the obstacles and challenges towards achieving your goal. And your why, your connection with why you're doing this, your reason for being, your ikigai, that is what pushes you through. And that is the single biggest difference between those who are going to give up their resolutions in 2 weeks' time and those who are going to keep on going. It's those who are connected with why they're doing something. So let's move on. Principle number 2. As always, guys, let me know if you have questions, queries. You want me to confirm, deny, elaborate, clarify. Let me just check. I'm seeing faces come up every now and then, but there's something about the new Facebook Live system since they did the update. It doesn't seem to show people logging in quite as clearly as it used to. So sometimes I think that there's no one, and there is. Sometimes I think there is someone there, and there's not. But we're going to persevere regardless, guys. So next, we're looking at how. Principle number 2 is grit. Now, grit is a phenomenon that has been studied by a psychologist called Angela Duckworth. And she's looked at a variety of different spheres. She's looked at West Point military training. She's looked at children's spelling bees. She looked in companies, corporations, universities, colleges, schools. And what she's found that this principle of grit is another variable that seems to determine and predict how successful people are going to be. Now, grit is made up of 2 components. Oh, just squeezed in that E at the end. Passion and perseverance. Passion is how much something excites you, how enthusiastic you get about something, how driven and motivated you are to pursue a particular goal, a particular activity, a particular lifestyle change. Perseverance is your ability to keep going, is your ability to take the knocks, to push through the challenges, to embrace the hard work that you have to do. And Angela has found that you need both of these components in order to be able to predict how successful somebody is going to be. Because we have a lot of passionate people in the world. A lot of people who are like, yeah, I want to do this, and yeah, I love this, and yeah, this excites me so much. But they don't actually do anything about it. They're all passion and no focus. All passion and no direction. Equally, we've got people who work flipping hard. They just push through and they never moan and they never complain and they just do what needs to get done. But they don't really have anything in their life that's lighting them up. They're doing hard work, but as my mentor Brendan Bouchard says, they're not doing their life's work. They're not doing what really excites them, what really lights them up. They're just persevering in a job to pay the bills, keep a roof above the head, feed the children. That's all noble and it's all commendable. But ultimately, we want people with passion in the world. We don't want everyone to be passionate and nothing getting done. But we do want people who are alight, they're alive, they're enthusiastic, and they're persevering and focusing on bringing that energy into the world. So grit is made up of these 2 components. And there is a journey of grit. Journey of grit goes like this. You take your talent, you take whatever you have, whatever inbuilt abilities that you have. Some people are more naturally athletic, some people are more naturally academic. You take your talent, and you times it by effort. Because we know the people who have a natural athletic talent, but they never really apply themselves. They just think that they can get by in life always being the fastest one, always being the stronger one. We have people who are very bright academically, who again, don't put in the effort, they don't apply themselves. They think that they can just ace every test and every challenge that they have to do purely because they were born with a slightly more academically inclined mind. Talent is not enough. You've got to put the effort in as well. For the athletes, they've got to be training 5, 6, 7 days a week to really hone their craft and achieve excellence. For those with a more academic inclination, they need to read research, revise, build that talent through hard effort. And when you times talent and effort together, that is when you create skill. When you look at someone and you say that they're highly skilled, we often confuse that with talent. We kind of think that talent and skill is the same thing. Skill is an upgrade from talent. It is when you combine talent and effort that you create skill. Roger Federer is incredibly skilled at hitting a tennis ball with a tennis racket. Did he have some natural talent? Quite possibly. Something that allowed him to get into tennis a little easier than other people perhaps. But you can bet Roger has put in the effort. You don't win, 17, 18, 19 Grand Slams now if you don't train hard, if you don't put in the work. And not just working aimlessly and cluelessly, but having a really clear focus and direction on what you need to do to improve your game. There's no point to keep on working on your forearm, your forehand, if that is already as good as it gets. If your forehand is winning you games, but your backhand is losing you games, then you need to start working on your backhand and putting in the effort to build that backhand up. When you do this, that is when you create skill. And with that skill, Roger Federer goes on to win all the Grand Slams and titles and matches that he does. That is the start of the grit journey. This is where you start to develop the skills and the traits and attributes of grit. From here, there's the next step. You take your skill, and once again, you times it with effort, and that creates achievement. This is when the things that you want to happen actually happen. The outcomes that you want to bring about are manifested. It's when you take your skill. And once again, you don't just try and get by on your skill. Just because you've got that excellent forehand, you don't think that you can go into the Wimbledon tournament and just win based on that good forehand. No, you put in the effort. You run around that court. You play for every point. Sometimes you're going to beat your opponents 3-0. Sometimes you're going to be 2 sets down and you're going to have to come back and win the next 3 sets to get into the next round. You take your skill and once again, you keep on working. You keep on persevering. And when that happens, that is when you get the achievement. Again, I'll continue with the analogy of tennis. We've got Great Britain's #1, Andy Murray. Now, Andy Murray came on to the tennis scene as a very young individual. He was just 18 years old when he appeared in his first Wimbledon. He got to the quarter-final. He beat some good players along the way. Andy Murray had the talent. From an early age, it was clear that he had a talent for playing tennis. His mother had been a tennis player. There was a certain genetic predisposition to playing tennis. Now, Andy was playing tennis from 3 years old. That was something that his mother actually got him into. So Andy Murray put in the effort for a huge number of years. When he was going into that Wimbledon tournament, he already had 15 years of playing tennis, aged just 18. That was a lot of effort, and that had translated into skill. He wasn't able to walk onto Wimbledon at 18 years old without never picking up a racket and expect to beat people. But he put in that effort and he had developed skill. He had the ability to hit game-winning shots. He had the ability to run around the court. He had the ability to win games and beat people. But skill is not enough. Because Andy Murray didn't win his first Wimbledon, even though he did well. He didn't win his second. He didn't win his third or his fourth. You see, when you've got the skill, you need to apply the effort again. In fact, actually, Andy Murray is a really good example of this. Because in his first Wimbledon, he was in the quarter-final. He was 2 sets up. He just needed 1 more set to win against David Nalbandian. But at that age, he didn't have the physical fitness, he didn't have the physical stamina of some of his other competitors. And although he was more skillful in that particular match than David Nalbandian, he won the first 2 sets. He started to tire, he started to cramp up, and his body beat him on that occasion. And he ended up losing 3-2 after being 2 sets up against David Nalbandian. He didn't have the physical fitness and strength to match his competition. He had the skill, but not the stamina. And so the next Wimbledon, something very similar happened. And Andy started to really work on his physical conditioning. He went away to America and he started doing altitude training, strength training, and over the period of a summer, he suddenly started to really beef up. He was this skinny little thin thing when he first came on the scene, but he started to beef up, get stronger, faster, have more stamina. Even then, he came back stronger, fitter, and faster in 2009, 3 years after his debut. He got to the semi-finals, but again he lost to a competitor. He lost to a competitor on skill. And again in 2012, 3 years after that semi-final defeat, he finally got into the final of Wimbledon. But who was there? Roger Federer. Roger Federer with all that skill and ability that he had cultivated in the grit journey, and he beat Andy 3-1 in the final. Now Andy had to persevere for those 6 years, from 2006 when he first came on the tennis scene to 2012, and he still didn't win Wimbledon. But then after that final loss in Wimbledon, it was the 2012 London Olympics, and Andy Murray won the gold medal for the Olympics. And that's when everything started to click for him. A couple months after that, he won the US Open, his first Grand Slam. A couple months after that, it was back into 2013, back to Wimbledon. Andy Murray gets to the final and he's playing Novak Djokovic, at that time #1 in the world. Novak Djokovic, who had won the previous 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me right. Andy Murray goes into that and he beats Novak 3-0. 7 years after his debut at Wimbledon, Andy Murray finally wins. He finally gets the achievement. He wins his home Grand Slam. But it took 7 years of effort to get there. It took 7 years of professional effort and 15 years of his childhood effort. Because what you'll notice, for those of you who are astute on this live video, is that effort comes into the equation twice. Talent, yes, it's an important variable. Skill, yes, it's an important variable. But effort counts twice as much. You will achieve twice as much in your life through committing to the effort as you will relying on talent and skill alone. And this is what Angela Duckworth has found in her studies. She's found that effort outpredicts any other variable when it comes to looking at success and achievement. And this is the perseverance aspect of grit. Yes, you have people who are talented. Yes, you have people who are skilled. But sometimes it's not the most academically gifted child in the class who goes on to do the best things. Yes, sometimes it's not the most physically able child in the class who goes on to do the great things. It's the ones who work hardest. It's the ones who persevere. And when it comes to looking at your New Year's resolutions and your goal for 2018, you need perseverance. Because another one of the reasons that people give up by the second week in January is that they don't see any visible progress. They don't really see any change in their life. So they give up. Well, let me tell you something. Any meaningful change takes a long time to achieve. It takes longer than you think it will, and it takes more work than you think it will. And many people simply aren't prepared for this when they go into the new year. And that's why the gym is full in January and it's empty again by February. There's a lack of understanding of how much hard work and perseverance is needed to achieve your goals. If you want to make a meaningful change in your life, it's going to take a long time to do it. If you want to lose weight, it's not going to happen in a month. It's not going to happen in 6 months. It might start happening after 12 months. Yes, you'll get small changes along the way, but most people who say they want to lose weight, it's not small changes they require, it's big changes. For most people who want to start a business or grow a business, it's not small changes they require, it's big changes. For those who want to enter a new relationship or improve an existing relationship, it's not small changes that are required, it's big changes. Big change requires a hell of a lot of perseverance, and that is how you achieve your goal. It's having the passion, the excitement, the enthusiasm. This comes from being connected with that why. Why are you doing this? Why does that light me up? The why is great, the why is super important. Then comes the how. Putting in the effort and putting in the work. So let me finish. Our final component of this little goal setting training, and that is the what. Now, I was really tempted to walk you through a goal setting framework here. It's something that will be very vogue around about now during the year. There will be plenty of people talking about SMART goals, and I, for one, I'm not a huge fan of SMART goals. I think they're really limited, and I wanted to show you what I use in my work and with my students and clients to help them achieve their goals. I do have a framework. It does have some components of the SMART framework, but it really builds a lot more on what we know in psychology and high performance, what you really need in a goal setting framework to make your goals happen. I was tempted to share that, but I know that people like strategies and they like tactics, and I wanted to talk about goals without actually talking about goals, because everyone nowadays will be saying resolutions, you've got to set goals, here's how you set them, and I wanted to show you the nuances and the complexities of goals. That's why we've talked about the why, your ikigai. That's how we've talked about the how, developing grit. So I do want to give you a what. I do want to give you an action, a tactic, a strategy. What I'm going to give you instead of a goal setting framework is a little bit of branded material. Normally you have to pay for my branded material for the individual and unique aspects of All For Your Life. I'm going to give you this one today for free, for being in the Facebook group, for being in the community, for being part of the tribe and the inner circle of All For Your Life. This one comes to you today for free. It's the McRae Momentum Method, and looks something like this. There we go. That's the McRae Momentum Method. Alright guys, thank you for joining this live. I'll see you later and hope you can use this. I'm just kidding with you. What is the McRae Momentum Method? What are these red crosses in this grid? So let me give you the backstory to the McRae Momentum Method. From my earliest years, my earliest memories, I've always wanted to be an author. I've always been fascinated with stories, of being in stories, reading stories, writing stories. And this was my first childhood dream, when everyone in primary school was saying they want to be an astronaut and a train driver and a fireman. I was always the weird nerd in the class who said, I want to be an author, I want to write books. That was my ikigai. I didn't know this terminology at the time, I didn't know this feeling at the time, but actually it's been very clear that looking back on my life, my ikigai is to be a storyteller, is to communicate and to tell people stories. The way that I've done so has changed and evolved over my lifetime, but I'm now very clear that that is my ikigai. If you could sum up my life's purpose in one word, it would be storyteller. Now the thing is, I didn't follow my ikigai for a long time. I didn't follow my dream, I didn't follow my life's mission, because being an author wasn't something that was very cool. It wasn't something that was really suggested as a career option. When you start getting into school and into older years, it's like, okay, you want to be an author, that's nice, but what are you going to do for a real job? What are you going to do to earn money? And so that started to put me down the path of psychology and going away to university to study psychology, which wasn't a bad thing at all. In fact, it's really helped me in my mission and my life's purpose of being a storyteller and having the knowledge and the experience and the expertise to be able to tell people stories that change their lives. Psychology has been a really key component of that. But what I've really, really, really wanted to do is to write books. And finally, I got to early adulthood and I said, why do I keep on putting this off? Why am I leaving my dreams to some vague tomorrow? It was always, okay, I can be an author when I've completed my studies, when I've got a job, when I've started a family. It was always putting it off into some vague tomorrow. So one day I took stock of my life and had a realization that if I want to start being an author, I can start right here, right now. And so I took ideas that had been circling around my head for years and years, and I started to put it into written form. I started to write my first book. Now, I'd had attempts to write books before. I'd actually completely written stories before, a start, a middle, and an end, actually finishing stories. But I'd always done it writing on pen and paper, nothing of the depth and scale of actually writing something that would and could become a book. So I was very much learning on the job how to write. I was expanding my vocabulary and my writing style. As I was writing the book, I was reading other people's books and starting to highlight words that I didn't understand, or nice turns of phrases or ways that they describe things, to try and bring that into my own writing. But one of the biggest things you have to learn when you're writing a book is, at the end of the day, the bottom line. How would you get those words on the paper? How would you get those words on the paper consistently to build up into a full-length book? And that's where most wannabe authors fall down. It's where I've been falling down for a number of years, was starting things and never finishing them, having flashes of inspiration, but as soon as the inspiration dipped, then the writing was gone. So I had to learn a method. How do I succeed where I've failed in the past before? How do I succeed where many wannabe first-time authors also fail? How do I consistently get those words on the paper until I finish the book? And this is where I developed the McRae Momentum Method. What I realized was that the writing had to be consistent. That was where I'd been going wrong before. The writing was not consistent. I could sometimes sit down and write 3,500 words in a day, but then spend weeks and weeks not writing anything. I knew that wasn't going to help me to write a book. So I knew I had set a manageable target where when I reached that target, I'd be happy with my writing progress. And I knew that was something that I had to aspire to do every day. So looking at my writing speed, I soon identified that I could write about 500 words per hour. And that was an average rate. I could write more if I was inspired, a little less if I was really struggling, but on a reasonable average sort of day, 500 was a pretty good benchmark. So I looked at 500 and I thought, well, if I could do 1,000, if I could do 2 hours at an average pace, I could get 1,000 words. Now 1,000 is a nice number. It's something that gives you that kind of feel-good feeling of satisfaction and completion. 1,000 words, that's approaching a university essay. Most university essays that you get from at least first year are generally about 1,500 words. Occasionally you've got an assignment that's a little less, it's about 1,000. But actually 1,000 words is the smallest university assignment that you'll generally be given. So if I could do 1,000 words, that'd be like doing a university assignment. That's something really big. That's something that in first year at least, you're asked to do that maybe once, maybe twice a semester for a subject. So I looked at 1,000 words and I said, if I can write for 2 hours each day, I can write 1,000 words. And so I made that my daily target. I said, as soon as I hit 1,000 words, I'm happy with that day's progress. Doesn't matter if I can't write a word more, I don't feel like writing a word more. As soon as I hit 1,000, I'll be happy with that. And when I hit 1,000, I could look at that day on the calendar and I could put a red cross through it and say, mission complete. 1,000 words were written that day. Now the thing about those 1,000 words was, it didn't matter if those were my best 1,000 words. It didn't matter if those words were particularly good. It didn't matter if they made the final draft of the story. All that mattered was getting those words on the paper. Because even if I cut 950 of them, I was still 50 words closer to preparing and creating and publishing that final story. So that's what I aspired to do every day. 2 hours, give or take, all in one chunk or across the day, however it worked, get to that 1,000 word target. And when I did, I could count that day success and put a red cross through that day. Mission complete. And here's what I started to discover. Very rarely did I write only 1,000 words. You'd get up to 1,000 words and then just to round off that point or round off that particular scene, you'd be creeping up to 1,200 words, 1,500 words. On good days, that would be going towards 2,000, 2,500, 3,000. When I was really in the zone and really in the story, I was writing 3,000, 4,000 words a day. My record, in fact, was 6,000 words in a day. Now, if you divide that by my hourly rate, that is 12 hours of writing in one day. But here's the thing. I didn't sit down one lazy Sunday morning, decide to write a book and crank out 6,000 words. That particular day came after I'd been consistently writing for a long period of time. Same with the couple thousand. Very rarely could I sit down and just crank out 2,500 words just like that. I had to build myself into it. This is where the second word comes in. Because what I discovered is the creative process is all about momentum and building momentum for yourself. As I started to commit to the process, develop this consistency of building the 1,000 words each day, that is when the numbers started to rise. After even just a day or two of hitting the 1,000 word mark, suddenly that's when the 2,000s were coming, the 2,500s. What I aimed to do was to create a chain of consistency, to build day after day of writing, writing, writing. Every day meeting my target, my minimum target of 1,000 words. And what I soon found was that in building this momentum, very rarely was I stopping at 1,000. That's when I was getting to the 2,000, the 3,000. That 60,000 word day was created after a sustained summer of writing. I was back from university and I had nothing to do with my summer. I had my little part-time job, I had some friends to see, but that was about it. I had a lot of free time and an abundance of time to write. And so over the course of that summer, I was able to develop real consistency, start moving that story forward. And on one of those summer days, I sat down to write in the morning, and I was there again late in the evening. I'd cranked out that 6,000 word day. I'd hit that beautiful moment of muse, of inspiration, of creative flow. But that came from consistency. That came from sticking to the process. That came from days of not feeling like writing, not feeling creative, struggling through those words, piecing together sentences, trying to get the characters moving forward, trying to get them alive, struggling through to hit those 1,000 words. because most of these days that I was writing, I wasn't motivated to write. I didn't feel like writing, but I sat down and did it anyway. And through that process, through committing to the process on a consistent basis, that is when I started to awaken my creativity. That's a big misconception that people have about creativity, is creativity is something that comes to you in a flash, like the apple hitting Isaac Newton on the head. Yes, the apple hit Isaac Newton on the head and it awakened a question in him. A question of, well, why did that apple fall on my head? But Isaac Newton didn't invent gravity with that apple hitting him on the head. He had to go to his lab, look at his papers, look at his writing, theorize and think about what laws of the universe, what did they know about physics and science at the time? What did that mean? Why did that apple fall on the head? Isaac Newton had to put in so much work to invent gravity. And I had to do exactly the same with writing a book, was create this momentum. Now, how does this all link in with you and your goal setting? You've got to embrace this notion of consistency in the same way. I want you to look at the goals that you want to achieve. Let's use the example of exercise, because loads of people will be setting that goal around about this time of year. What is your minimum commitment each day to exercise? Is it going to a gym class for 45 minutes? Is it going running for 30 minutes? Is it doing a 30-minute yoga sequence? Whatever it is, what is your daily minimum commitment? That when you hit that, you can say, yes, I'm happy with today's exercise. 30 minutes of running? Yeah, that's a lot better than what I've been doing for a long time. I'm happy with that. And aim to hit that every single day. Now, some days you will not feel like exercising. You will not be motivated to exercise. Sadly, in fact, most of the time, you will not feel like exercising. When you look at the Olympic athletes, do you think they feel like training 7 days a week? No, they don't feel like doing it, but they do it anyway. They embrace the consistency. So you can do the same. Let's say your target is the 30 minutes of running. As soon as you hit 30 minutes of running, you can say, yes, that's a cross through the day. And just build up these crosses. And it doesn't matter if you run in a particularly fast time, if you don't run the distance you want to run, if you don't feel as fit and energized as you're running. Sometimes when you go for a run, you're like, God, this is hard work. Oh, stitch. Oh, my leg, my feet are sore. But you do it anyway. And what you'll find is that after a day or two, you'll suddenly find that it's actually quite hard to run only 30 minutes. That's when you start to think, hey, I'm feeling all right. I could go for another 10. I could go for another 15. Man, I feel like I'm just warming up. I'm going to go and turn this run into an hour run. I'm going to take this 5K run and see if I can turn it into 10K. That is what happens when you start to build this consistency. When you start to get these red crosses on the calendar, these completed days, they build up a chain of momentum for you. Now, just to round this off, you'll notice on some days you don't achieve it. I didn't manage to write 1,000 words every single day. Some days things just got too crazy, or I had university projects that were demanding my time and attention. Sometimes I didn't get down to the writing process at all. Or sometimes I really just genuinely struggled, couldn't find the inspiration, couldn't find the direction for my writing, and I'd maybe get to a couple hundred words and just be out of ideas, just not be in the zone at all, not have the writing, inspiration, and creativity at all. So some days I would miss, and that's okay. It is okay if you miss a day. You don't want to miss a day, but you know what? Sometimes stuff happens, and sometimes it's out of our control. But what is really imperative and important is after you've missed a day, make sure you get on the wagon and do the next day. Even if that next day isn't particularly motivating, it isn't particularly productive, you still feel just as bad as you did the day before, but get there and do it anyway. Because if you don't do that, what you start to do is you create another chain, not of momentum, but of languishing. Because suddenly after you missed a couple of days, it becomes all that more easy to miss another day, and another day, and another day. And that is what happens to so many people at this time of year. They get in the gym, they do 3 or 4 workouts, and then they never visit it again because they lost that one day, which isn't something that would necessarily derail them. That's not something to be worried about. But what they did was they allowed that one slip up, that one blip, to turn into a chain, to turn into languishing, the opposite of momentum. And if you allow that to happen, it is going to be incredibly difficult to get that cross back on the calendar. Yes, you can do it, but your odds of success after that 2-day break are so slim. So slim. So this is what the McRae Momentum Method is all about. Looking at the goal you want to achieve, looking at a daily target for that goal, and committing to the practice, committing to the process, building that momentum, embracing that principle of grit, of persevering, and also to really understand why you're doing this. You're chasing this goal, chasing this outcome, because there is a very clear, distinct change you want to make in your life. Now, this isn't just a change you want to achieve at this one moment in time. You don't want to train for a marathon, run the marathon, complete the marathon, and then that is the only change that you experience in the rest of your life. That doesn't make sense. Why would you only want that moment of achievement and happiness in one specific place? Yes, you want to complete a marathon, but most people set that intention, that goal of completing a marathon, because they understand that they want that to mean something more in their life. Completing a marathon indicates health, vibrancy, fitness, stamina, and that feeds into the rest of their life. So looking at this practice, this progress, should be something you're doing daily. Because this change that you want is a change you want to make for the purpose of your entire life. You want to feel the benefits of this change throughout your life on a day-to-day basis. So commit to it on a day-to-day basis. That is what the McRae Momentum Method is all about. And that is what you can do to make those resolutions come true for you this year. So folks, I'd like to thank you for joining me on today's video. As I said throughout, if you've got any questions, any queries, let me know. Pop them in the comments, send a private message to my profile on Facebook, depending on what the nature of your question is. I hope this is useful to you. I hope this has served you. If you'd like to take this training a little deeper and a little further, I'm running a workshop in Glasgow on the 22nd of January. It's a 3-hour workshop called Make 2018 Your Best Year. And this is looking at some of these things that I've touched upon today. We're going to be looking at the why, the how, and the what of how you make 2018 your best year. Yes, we'll be talking about goals. Yes, we'll be looking at how you set goals. But so much more than that. It's delving deep into your why, your purpose, your motivation. It's looking at the how. It's looking at principles such as grit that allow you to make the difference between succeeding and not succeeding. And yes, we'll look at some what? Yes, we'll look at some tactical stuff. Yes, we'll look at some strategies on how you can make your goals happen this year. But it's all about that deep foundational work. So if you'd like to come along to the workshop, it's on the 22nd of January, which is a Monday. It's a Monday evening, 6 till 9. I'm aware that for a lot of people in this group, you're not local to Glasgow, or perhaps you're not able to make a Monday evening. So what I'm doing is, for anyone who buys a ticket, everyone who buys a ticket, regardless of whether they're there in person or not, you'll get sent the full video recording of the session. So I'll be recording the entire session. You'll have the slides, you'll have the activities, you'll have the resources, all of that will be sent to you. So even if you can't make the workshop in person, then I'm giving you as good as being there. It's giving you all the information, all the materials, all of the resources that will allow you to make 2018 your best year. So what I'll do is I'll post a link to that in the comments of this video. I'll make a Facebook event on the group as well. So if you want to make 2018 your best year, I'd love to have you along at the workshop. I'd love to have you there in person if possible, because it's just always so much better when you're doing things in person. There's nothing that replaces that real in-time connection. But I'm aware that for some people that might not logistically be possible, but I don't want you to miss out on this training just because of logistics. So that's why I've got that option to get sent all of the material to help you make 2018 your best year. So folks, thank you very much for joining me on this live video. Look forward to sharing a few more things with you throughout the course of January, some more advice, some more training, some more strategy to help you achieve your goals, because I don't want you to be those folks on the 14th of January who've given up on your change, given up on your mission, given up on your transformation, simply because you didn't understand the principles that are required to make the process happen, simply because you weren't connected enough to the why, simply because you didn't understand the how enough, simply because you didn't know what to do. For me, that's such a waste, and I hate seeing the same cycle year after year of people saying they're going to change and not doing it. I personally find that really frustrating, and I don't want you to have that frustrating. I don't want you to have those outcomes. So folks, 2018 is the year where you can go out and author your life. Thank you very much for joining me. I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Bye for now.